Let's apply to Linn-Benton Community College. We'll start on the Oregon Goes to College website. From the College Info menu tab, choose Apply to College. That takes us to a page that has a lot of really good information about things that we can do to prepare before we apply, including a list of the documents or materials we may need to gather in order to complete the application, and some tips about things that we can do to help us be successful when we sit down to fill out the form. Now, again, today I know I'm planning to apply to LBCC, and I've already gathered all of the materials I need, so I'm going to scroll down to find the table that has a list of all of the colleges in the state and find Linn-Benton Community College. When I click on this link, it's going to take me directly to their website, to the college's website, and a page on that website that talks about how to apply and the different pathways that you might be able to take. Now, I plan on graduating from high school in the spring of this year and entering college the following fall. So I will be a high school graduate who's planning to earn a college degree. And I don't have previous college credit, and so I'm going to choose this first link. But if you're a high school graduate or will be with some previous college credit, you'll choose the second link. No college credit first link, some college credit second link, and here we go. This tells us that there are a few steps. We need to create a WebRunner account, and then we can choose a new student for the application type, and then we'll get an email to move forward. So let's go ahead and create the WebRunner account. They want to make sure, of course, that I'm a real human being, so I will click that and move forward. Now, as it happens, I actually already have an account, and so I'm a returning user who's going to click this link here. If you are not a returning user and you're coming to Linn-Benton's WebRunner account for the very first time, you'll choose a login, you'll create your PIN, and verify that PIN. So basically enter that twice. You'll want to make sure that when you do that, you write those down in a safe or secure place so that you can remember them the next time you need to work on your application or enter your WebRunner account. So I'm going to be a returning user and go ahead and click here and enter my login and password. Now I need to figure out what kind of application I'm planning to complete because I'm only allowed to create one application. So I know I am a new student who will be 18 or older and have earned my high school diploma, not having ever been to college after I've graduated from high school. That's me. And that is probably the case for most of you. So but you'll want to check to make sure that these others don't apply to you and that you are in fact a new student. And I'm going to choose that as my application type and continue. Okay, now I can get started. And before we fill out anything, I'm going to get a lay of the land here and notice that there are red asterisks next to some questions and not next to others, and the star means that the question is required. There might be a good reason to answer a question that isn't required, and so we'll talk about that as we go, but I now know that I can't move on unless I complete a question that has the star. So let's get going. First question, admission term. That means when do you plan to start? Now, remember, I'm planning to graduate in the spring of 2021 and start college in the fall. So fall 2021. And then I need to provide my name. And this is when they're asking me for my legal name. So that's the name that shows up on my legal documents, my driver's license if I have one, my high school transcript, basically the name that the government knows me by. I do not have to provide a middle name, but I have one, and so I'm going to provide it because I want to make sure that anything that I provide to the college gets matched up appropriately, and the best way to do that is to provide as much information about my name as I can. So, ready to fill out the application. And here's a checklist that shows me all of the things that I'm going to need to do. as I complete my application. And so as I go, a check mark is going to appear next to these to say that I've completed that. And it also lets me know that if I have any questions, I can click on this link to have those questions answered. But I just need to start at the beginning and make my way through. So we'll start with name. So again, just in case I didn't enter it correctly, I can make some changes here. But I did enter my legal name to begin with, and so I'm all set. I don't have a suffix for my name, so a number or a junior or senior after my name. But if you do, then you will definitely want to provide that here. And preferred first name. So this is a really good option if you have a nickname or something that you prefer that people call you, like I do, then you can go ahead and enter that in this section. And I can click continue, which I'm going to do. I also have some other options. I can go back to that checklist to see my progress, or I can save and come back later. But I'm ready to keep going, so let's continue. And fill out my personal information. Birth date. I'm going to go ahead and choose my birth date, and here they're reminding me that for the year I need to provide all 4 numbers of the year, and they're asking for my social security number. Now, you do not have to have a social security number to apply to or attend LBCC. However, if you do have one and you are applying for federal financial aid, then it is a really good idea to go ahead and enter that at this time. That's going to help them connect your financial aid application to your college application. They want to know our email address, and I'm going to provide the email address that I'm using for all of my college communications, and it's the one that I'm checking on a pretty regular basis, at least twice a week, to make sure that I can stay on track of all the things I need to know about college and scholarships. This question about where I've lived in the 90 days prior to when I am going to enroll. This is about residency status related to tuition questions. So for me, the answer is yes, I will be living in Oregon for 90 days before that. Gender is an optional question, and I can choose to not respond or respond, my choice. And same thing, this is also an optional question about whether or not my parents or guardians graduated from college. And for me, the answer is no. You can choose the answer that is correct and accurate for you. Oftentimes, colleges are interested in knowing that information so that if you answer no, you are a first-generation college student, and they may have some additional resources that can help. Questions about race and ethnicity are also optional, and so we can choose to answer those or not. I am going to make the decision to do that. You can do what you're most comfortable with. Same is true for relationship to the military, whether you have ever served, and for me the answer is no. This one that is a little bit funky here, the options are yes, no, and no response. And so the middle option is no, and the last option is no response. It looks a little funky. This next set of questions is also about resources that you may have available to you if you were to attend LBCC. And these are about the Center for Accessibility. And this first one seems to be a link to give us some more information about the Center for Accessibility resources, and it's not really a question, so I'm going to leave that no response mark there because I don't think that's actually a question, and move on to the next question, which is whether or not I have a disability or am on an IEP or 504 plan in high school. And for me, the answer is no, but you can choose to answer that for yourself. And then, will I need accommodations when I am in college? And for me, again, the answer is no. But if you will need them, I would strongly encourage you to say yes so that they can help you get all of the accommodations you need to be successful. And we will continue. And you need to scroll up a little bit to see that this next section is about my permanent address. Okay, for permanent address, Linn-Benton has a very specific definition, and it is this. If you have lived at an address for at least 90 days prior to today when you're filling out your application, then that's the address you're going to use for your permanent address. If you've moved to the address that you're living at now less than 90 days ago, then you are going to use your last address as your permanent address, and you'll use your current one where you're living in a future section. But if you've lived at the house that you are living at now for at least 90 days, then you're going to use that address. And let's go ahead and fill that out. For me, it is this. I don't have an apartment number, but if you do, after you put in your street address, you could, for example, write your apartment number in like that. I don't have that, so I'm going to delete it. Add my city. Ooh, learn how to type. My state. And that fills in a zip code and a county for me, so I don't have to find those. And my phone number. And press continue. And now I am on the mailing address. I only need to fill this out if my mailing address is different from my permanent address. And that can be for one of two reasons. It could be that I have a P.O. box or another place where I want to receive mail from the college, and then I would fill this out. Or if I had moved and less than 90 days ago and I used my old address on the permanent address, then I would want to put my new address on this section. So if I have a P.O. box or another place I want to get mail, or if I've recently moved and need to give my current address, then I will include that here for the mailing. Neither of those situations apply to me, so I'm going to leave this blank and press continue. Now they're interested in knowing my high school. They're looking for a high school code here, and I don't know my high school code, so I'm going to click on the button, and it's going to allow me to find my high school. It is in Oregon. And I can now choose my city, which is Corvallis. And I can list the high schools in that city, and I attend Corvallis High School. And so I want to then copy the selected high school information into the form. And so it has now provided that code that I didn't know. If you know your code, which very likely starts with the numbers 38 if you go to an Oregon high school, then you can just automatically enter that here. If you don't know your code, you can do what I did to look up the high school code. If you are homeschooled, then you can check this box instead of completing the code. And then they want to know the graduation date. And for me, that is June. We'll call that the first, and the year 2021. And I'm not required to, but I'm going to provide my GPA on a 4-point scale. If I have transferred high schools or attended a different high school at some point, then I would want to click the enter or view another high school button so that I could provide additional high school information, but I've only attended one high school, so I'm going to simply click continue. And this is my 6th of 6 sections, so I am almost done, and here's where they are asking me to provide some information about what I'm interested in studying. And there are some options here, and they provide some opportunities to read and learn a little bit about what each of those might be about. And for me, I know that I'm interested in the education, arts, and society, but you'll want to read through and find the section that is of most interest to you, and then come down and choose which of these is right for you. So I'm going to go ahead and choose education and social services and click continue. And it brings me back to that checklist that we had seen at the beginning. And you can see that I now have all red check boxes, which tells me that I am done. And I can click that my application is complete. And now I have an admissions agreement to make, and it's important that you read and understand before you agree to the terms, but essentially this is saying that you're telling the truth, and that everything that is on this application is correct and complete as far as you know. And I'll go ahead and agree to the terms, and then my application has been submitted, and I am going to hear back from them soon. So if you have gotten to this point, you also have applied. Congratulations.